I never imagined I'd end up in the crosshairs of our homeowners association president. But then again, I didn't expect someone like Diane Walters to hold so much sway in our otherwise quiet suburban neighborhood. Most folks referred to her as Karen behind her back, a nickname she earned for her constant need to complain or demand management's attention on the smallest issues. When I moved into Oak Ridge Estate 6 months ago, I had no idea the HOA would become such a relentless source of frustration. It all began with something as harmless as a bird bath. I placed a simple stone bird bath in my front yard thinking nothing of it. But Diane cited me for violating Section 14, Paragraph 3 of the HOA rules. No decorative outdoor items taller than 18 inches without prior written approval. I didn't realize birds needing a sip of water required bureaucratic paperwork. She taped a glaring yellow violation notice to my door. "Mr. Reynolds, we take our community standards seriously," she chirped with a sickly sweet smile when I asked about it. Her bleach blonde bob stayed perfectly still as she tilted her head in that condescending way. "You really should have read the handbook before installing unapproved items." I took down the bird bath, assuming that would be the end of it. It wasn't. Over the following months, I got slapped with one citation after another. My grass was slightly too tall. My garbage bin was visible too long after pickup, and my modest Christmas lights display was deemed visually disruptive. But after 35 years as a postal worker, I've dealt with plenty of difficult personalities. I bit my tongue, followed the rules, and tried to keep the peace. My pension check was the reward I looked forward to every month, and I wasn't going to let Diane ruin my retirement. Then something strange happened. My pension check didn't show up. It had always arrived like clockwork on the first of the month. I waited a day, then another. When I called the pension office, they confirmed it had been sent on time. They offered to trace it while juggling. Which bills to delay, I noticed Diane striding confidently up to Mrs. Garcia's house, citation in hand. That same day, my neighbor Tom mentioned something odd. His wife had seen Diane rifling through people's mailboxes early one morning. She assumed Diane was returning misdelivered mail, but something didn't feel right. A chill went through me. Could Diane have taken my mail? I contacted my old coworker Mike, who still delivered mail in the area, and asked him to give me a heads up the next day. When he arrived, I waited near the window. Sure enough, minutes after Mike made his drop, Diane appeared. She glanced around, opened my mailbox, and pulled out an envelope, one that looked a lot like it came from my credit union. She slipped it into her purse. I caught everything on video. This wasn't just petty HOA harassment anymore. This was mail theft, a serious federal offense. I called Mike, who immediately contacted the Postal Inspection Service. A couple days later, Inspector Sarah Martinez reached out. They had reviewed my footage and suspected Diane had stolen not just my check, but mail from others too. They asked if I'd help set up a sting operation. We devised a plan. A replacement check was issued, this time containing a tracking device. Inspector Martinez and her team would monitor everything. The check arrived the next week, right on time. I watched as Mike delivered it. An hour later, Diane showed up feigning interest in my lawn while pretending to snap pictures, likely under the guise of enforcing HOA codes. Then, thinking she was alone, she opened my mailbox and took the envelope. As she walked away, a van pulled up. 2 plainclothes inspectors got out. "Miss Walters," Martinez said, flashing her badge. "We need to talk about the mail you just took." Diane froze, her smug expression vanishing instantly. She tried to play it off. "I was collecting misdelivered mail to return it," she insisted, gripping her purse. "Ma'am, place the bag down," said Inspector Johnson firmly. "I'm the HOA president," she snapped. "This is outrageous." Martinez didn't flinch. "We have video of you removing mail from several mailboxes over the past 2 weeks. The envelope you just took contains a federal pension check with a tracking device. Mail theft is a federal crime, punishable by up to 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine." By now, neighbors had begun gathering outside, drawn by the spectacle. Diane looked around, suddenly realizing her audience. "This is just a misunderstanding," she pleaded. "I was trying to keep the neighborhood safe." They weren't buying it. The inspectors asked her to open her purse. Inside were my check and mail belonging to multiple neighbors, bills, credit cards, even a birthday card. They cuffed her on the spot. And just like that, Diane Walters went from feared HOA queen to a federal defendant. A later search of her home turned up dozens more pieces of stolen mail, including my original check never cashed. Perhaps she thought better of it. Her lawyer tried for a plea deal, but prosecutors, recognizing the calculated nature and scale of her crimes, pushed for a harsh sentence. Diane had crossed a line, and the law didn't look kindly on suburban tyranny turned criminal enterprise. Later, I sat quietly in the back of the courtroom as the judge prepared to deliver the final verdict. The room was hushed, all eyes on the bench. When the sentence came, it landed like a hammer. 2 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release and a $75,000 fine. Diane stood frozen for a moment, her poise unraveling. Her once impeccable makeup began to smear as tears welled in her eyes. "But who will run the HOA?" she cried out, her voice cracking with disbelief. She scanned the courtroom with wide, frantic eyes, searching for support that wasn't there, hoping someone, anyone, would rise to her defense. But the silence was deafening. The judge remained unmoved. He simply gave a weary shake of his head and called for the next case on the docket. Without further ceremony, the bailiffs approached. As they gently took Diane by the arms and began leading her out, her shoulders sagged under the weight of her new reality. The self-appointed guardian of the neighborhood, the woman who once ruled over lawn heights and trash bin visibility with an iron will, was now just another defendant headed for a prison cell. Homeowners associations, HOAs, in America play a significant role in residential communities, especially in suburban neighborhoods, condominiums, and planned developments. Here's an overview of what they are, how they work, and why they can be both beneficial and controversial. What is an HOA? A homeowners association. HOA is a private organization established by a real estate developer to manage and enforce rules in a residential community. When you buy property in an HOA-governed area, you're automatically a member and must adhere to its rules, commonly called covenants, conditions, and restrictions, CC&Rs. What does an HOA do? Maintain shared spaces like parks, clubhouses, swimming pools, landscaping, and private roads. Enforces community rules regarding home appearance, noise levels, trash bin placement, lawn maintenance, holiday decorations, etc. Collects dues fees, monthly, quarterly, or annually, to fund maintenance and reserves. Approves changes like painting your house, installing fences, or putting up satellite dishes. Benefits of HOAs: keeps neighborhoods clean and uniform. Helps maintain property values. Provides access to community amenities. Offers dispute resolution between neighbors. Common complaints: overregulation. HOAs can be strict, sometimes excessively so, about seemingly trivial things like mailbox color or holiday lights. Power-hungry leadership. In some cases, HOA boards, often volunteers, become overly authoritarian or personal in their enforcement. Fines and penalties. Violations can result in warnings, fines, and even lawsuits. Foreclosure power. In extreme cases, HOAs can foreclose on your home for unpaid dues. Legal standing HOAs are governed by state laws, which vary widely. However, they are civil entities, not government bodies. Disputes can be resolved through mediation, small claims court, or, in severe cases, litigation. Notable factors of recent estimates: about 74 million Americans live in HOA communities, and there are over 350,000 HOAs across the U.S. homeowners associations. HOAs, while designed to maintain order and property values, can often threaten residents' peace of mind when power is abused or rules are enforced unreasonably. Here's an expanded look at how HOAs can become a source of stress, conflict, and even fear in American communities. How HOAs threaten people's peace. Overreach and micromanagement. Excessive rules on everything from lawn height to curtain colors can make people feel like they don't own their own home. Something as minor as leaving your trash bin out for an extra hour can result in a fine or written violation. Homeowners often feel policed rather than protected. Selective enforcement. Some HOAs enforce rules inconsistently or with bias, targeting certain homeowners over others. Personal disputes with board members can lead to retaliatory enforcement, where rules are used as weapons. Fines and financial threats. HOAs have the legal right in many states to fine residents, place liens on their property, and even foreclose if dues go unpaid. For some, this creates constant anxiety, especially seniors or low-income residents living on tight budgets. Lack of transparency and accountability. HOAs are often run by small boards of neighbors with little oversight. Meetings can be opaque, records difficult to access, and elections poorly managed, allowing power to concentrate in the hands of a few. 5. Harassment and intimidation. Some HOA leaders act more like neighborhood tyrants, sending threatening letters or showing up at residents' doors. Residents have reported being surveilled, verbally harassed, or shamed in front of the community for minor violations. Weaponizing community standards. HOAs sometimes use vague aesthetic standards to suppress individuality, banning flags, cultural decorations, or even children's toys in yards. This can feel oppressive, especially to those with different cultural, religious, or personal lifestyles. Emotional and psychological impact. Many homeowners describe HOA interactions as stressful, humiliating, or demoralizing. Fear of retaliation. Keeps some residents silent or compliant even when rules feel unjust. The constant pressure to comply can turn a peaceful home into a source of dread. Bottom line. While not all HOAs are problematic, unchecked power, vague rules, and poor leadership can turn them into entities that threaten the very peace of mind they claim to protect.